the topic for today is about software application domain. So hopefully by today you understand there are several different categories of software, and you know whenever you're developing a product, then you know which category your software will be fall into. And also we will continue with web app design example, which is one of the domain from the seven domain we will discuss today. So I'll pick one which is web app first. So hopefully we can finish that by today. So next week we can go on with mobile app design example. Okay, and then later then only you can proceed with software architecture topic, and that is where you have to complete your architecture diagram. All right, so it's going to be slow and easy, so don't worry much. Okay, so let's start. Okay, software categories, we can say that there are seven categories, but we don't say that it covers everything. Most of the software falls under these seven categories. So we have system software, application software, engineering scientific software, product line software, embedded software, artificial, and the AI, and also web mobile app. Alright, so today you should understand the differences between all this. There are terms also that we say like state of the art software, meaning that it's something new, that has been recently produced. It can be any of the categories, but it's something new, so we can call it as state of the art, something new, right? And then we have legacy software, so it's the term for some software or system that has been used for a very long time, and people did not intend to change it in the nearest future. For example, like Maybank, the banking system, they have been using the system for a very long time. They keep secure that data, and also something related to your money, the amount that you keep inside the bank. You won't want to lose everything, the information about your account, right? So banking is using a legacy software, legacy system, and they want to keep that way. And of course they will have some upgrading, in terms of technology from time to time, but they will never, I don't think they will never change the whole system to a new system, because it will affect, the database and everything. Yeah, it's about your money, right? Okay, right. So this is what I want you to do. Read out the statement, and then you try to identify which category is that. Okay, so number one, resides within a product or system. So that's the clue, and is used to implement and control features and functions for the end user, and for the systems itself can perform limited and esoteric functions. For example, keypad control, for microwave, or maybe for your washing machine, etc., etc. So the clue is reside within a product or system. So which one do you think from the seven categories? System software, are you sure? Embedded software, it's more likely embedded, because the clue is reside within, so you embed something inside, okay? Embedded software application. Number two, designed to provide a specific capability for use by many different customers, a line of software product that are related in some ways. So there are many products, but they are related in some way. So what is it? Product line software, true. Okay, so example of product line software, we can say like it's a factory that produce lots of different product at the same time, under one brand or one company, or one label. And each of line in the factory, they are producing different product. So one line for one product, for example. So that's the analogy. Okay, so what the example is like Microsoft, so they have lots of different product, Yeah, the office itself, they have all that, you know, the Word, PowerPoint, etc. And okay, another example, Google. Yeah, like Google, they have for lots of things. Yeah, they have lots of product line. So Google Sheet, Google Doc, Google Drive, Google Meet, etc., etc. So that's what you call product line. Yeah. Okay, number three. The clue is network centric. They need network. Yeah. Software category spans a wide array of application, and that includes browser or software that resides on mobile device. Senang je ni. Yes, mobile application, not mobile application, mobile and web application, because they mentioned about browser that. So it's not just mobile app, it's web mobile app category or domain. Okay, good. Number four, makes use of non-numerical algorithm to solve complex problems. So there are two categories which are related to complex problem, but this one is non-numerical. And if you read the following sentences, you know what it is. Robotics, expert system, pattern recognition, AI. True. Very good. Okay, number five, a collection of programs written to service other programs. So there's something inside. It's like embedded that you say, kan? But it's used to service other things. So like you use computer, you have software inside it. So what it is? What is it? System software. Very good. System software, not app software. System software. Yeah, it support everything. Support other programs like compilers or system, the processors. Kan? Okay, number six. Standalone programs that solve a specific business need. Any standalone program can be customized. Yes, application software. Usually it falls because it's quite general. Application software is very general, right? So anything that you make customized, custom made for your client, only used by that specific company, and they don't need internet. Maybe they use the intranet, or maybe they use internet as well, but it means for that specific purpose, yeah, for that business, for that organization. So usually we call it application software. Okay. Number seven, broad array of program, not a clue. Tapi the field that they mentioned, astronomy, volcanology, orbital dynamics, yes. Engineering and scientific, yeah, not only engineering but any scientific system or application, yeah. So normally they will have numerical. Kalau AI tadi non-numerical, yeah? So for some scientific engineering, usually they have numerical application. They use a numerical algorithm. Sorry, yeah. There are differences there. That depends. If you're into AI, then you know what usually you have to work with. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So now it is about the popular one. So these are something that we call dominate the industry. But actually, this is not the only things happening around us, but only that these are the most popular one being discussed that we've heard around us. So we have web application, mobile application, cloud computing, and product line software. As you can see, we still use Google, macam kita hari ni, I use Google Meet. So we still using the product line, and there are more, yeah, new technology, new software coming. Yeah, so we never know what will replace Google Meet next. Yeah, and for the web, mobile, and cloud computing is actually fall under the same category. Yeah, which is web, mobile, application. Right. So there are slightly difference between them. So they have their own types. But after all, this is under the same category. The first three is the same category. Yeah, product line, product line. All right. So I've given you the brief description, so you can go on and read them. So make sure you know what are the differences. Yeah. Okay. How about IoT? Why I have to mention about IoT? Because when you're doing your FYP or seniors doing your the FYP, usually they will pick either website or web app, mobile app, and IoT. Okay. Personally, my advice is for you to pick either web application or mobile app. Yeah. Why? Why not IoT? You may choose IoT, but the things that you learn throughout the courses for this AC10 program is more about web and also mobile applications. Yeah, and suddenly you want to choose IoT where their design is slightly different. Yeah, their coding is slightly different. So it's kind of a bit confused kan, macam why you want to choose IoT. You have learned a lot about web and mobile application, so my advice is to pick web or mobile. Yeah, but of course after all it's your decision. If you still want to do IoT because you like them, go on, you still can do that. This is just a logical picture. Okay, so when you see this kind of picture, what comes across your head? Yeah, what is this? Logically, what is this about? Which category or which type? Apa benda yang di-emphasize at this picture? Apa yang you nampak? What is actually emphasized in the picture? Emphasizing usually use bold or large images. Apa yang you nampak inside this diagram? Tak nampak apa-apa. Which type do you think? Which category? Under which domain? Under web mobile application domain, correct? Very good. So what do we call this? What can we call this logical diagram or design? Nak panggil apa ni agaknya? What is it related about? Kenapa ni? Apa yang nampak paling besar kat dalam diagram ni? Web. Macam mana boleh nampak web? Yeah, dah cakap dah, web mobile application type. Yes, true, cloud. Tak nampak ke cloud besar tu? It's not web. Kalau web dia nampak macam silang-silang kan, spider web tu. But this is cloud. Yeah. Logically it looks something related to cloud. Okay, kita nampak cloud tu besar kat situ. Okay, ni saja je. So ada formal design. Okay, now we go into the second part. Yeah, web application design example. So you have to be prepared. Yeah, because this is going to be something huge. It's involve lots of things, different design, and whenever you want to use them, it's not like you pick and use them directly. It will depend. The design will depend on your story. Okay, it can be changed, it can be combined, it can be anything. So be ready. So we are going to talk about web app. Okay, first thing first, do you think there are any differences between web app and website? Web app is web application, of course, and website is website. So do you think there are any differences between these two terms? Ada? Tak ada? Ada? Tak ada? Ada beza tak? Ada beza. Other than the spelling, ada beza tak? Ada beza. So you think it's different? Or do you think it's the same thing? Sama? Tidak. Sama beza. Sama beza. Yes tu mana ya, sama ke beza ni? Ha? Ada beza lah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Alright. Okay. Good. Tapi cerita dia, you dengar dulu kan. Okay. Web app, website. Okay, now web app dulu. Web application ni, it's an ambiguous term, meaning that it can have more than one meaning. Okay, even though in the same context, software engineering is always like that. They use the same term, but it actually means slightly different or have different meaning, yeah. Walaupun in the same context of engineering tu pelik sikit kan. Okay, so web application, first meaning is, it's actually referring to the web app domain or the category. Okay, so when we say the category of web app, so there is one type inside that category known as web app also. So one meaning is the domain name as web app, that's mobile web app domain. Okay, so there's another meaning which is it's the type of the application or software, the type under web mobile application. Okay, so another type inside that domain is website. So web app and website is actually the types of software under web mobile application, which is web application domain. Okay, sebenarnya under web application betul-betul lah bawah kategori itu. Alright, so jawapan dia memang ada beza. Tapi people always use this word suka-suka lah dia tukar, sekejap dia guna ni, sekejap dia guna ni. Some people they familiar with website, so people that is not in our field, they usually refer to their website as website, although it's actually a web app, they still call it website. So it can be used like that. It depends on how people use and whether you understand them or not. But if you are a developer, you will know that this website, whether this website is actually a web app or just a plain website. Okay? Okay. Jadi tak ada issue whether you nak guna web app ke website ke, up to you. Tapi pelik kalau you guna kataan web app when you're talking with any people kan. Usually we use website. Alright? But the design, when we talk with technical people, the developer team, usually we know whether it's actually a website or web app, yeah, based on the design. Okay, how about mobile web? It's still web, but do you think there is actually related to the two websites and web app? Is it the same thing or is it different? Sama ke lain? Sama ke dengan web app tadi? Sama, related. Save ni kan, save the answer, related. Memang related dia saya masuk dalam ni kan. Okay, it is related, mobile web, also known as web app. Okay, tapi there are differences because mobile web is something that you can use your mobile devices to display them. Okay, either through browsers or perhaps you use some apps as well. But when we talk about app, that will go to the next domain lah, next story lah under mobile app kan. So now we keep under web stories. So mobile web is something that you use your browser that to get access to that website. Okay, so maknanya guna mobile devices. Itu je beza dia. But usually people call mobile web as web app as well. Sama je dia guna. Senang kan macam tu. So don't worry, I would be asking you the differences between this term. Yeah. But at least you know that this term exists, and when people mention it, you know whether does it mean this or that, because people just use any term that they like, right? Okay. Okay, this is about the domain just now, mobile web application domain, but we focus on the web application, yeah. So it's under network centric, that's a web mobile domain. But for web application, they actually need the browser. Yeah, they need the browser. When it comes to software, it will be under mobile app. Alright. Okay, ranging from a simple web page, plain website, yeah, and then simple, we'll go to the design later so that you will understand, yeah, up to a comprehensive website, yeah, which have lots of functionalities there. You maybe can compute something, maybe you can get something from the database, and you have so many other functionalities in there. Okay, so that's called comprehensive. There are lots of functional and they are all related under website, and it's going to be a huge website. Okay, ada contoh situ, so you can go on and read. Okay, so now conclusion there for these types, yeah. All the things that we mentioned just now, web app, website, mobile web, is actually types under web app. Yeah, it's actually types under web app. So like website, more to display information. So when we say plain website means it doesn't do anything, it just display information. It may display some images, some tables, but it's static. Yeah, it's just that. So for website, a plain one, to display information like that, it's something very basic. Yeah, something that you should know how to do it by now, by today. Yeah, ni siapa yang tak belajar lagi HTML, go and learn today. Ya, jangan tunggu lagi, today you kena start learn. Dah lambat dah ni. Okay, web application ataupun web app the type, yeah, so it provide more functionalities like I mentioned just now. So you have many examples. So that I mentioned about Google Drive, Facebook, blah blah blah, banyak sangat. Yeah, it's not just a plain website kan. They have some something like you can search inside the website. Is already considered as web app. Yeah. Okay, in mobile web kita guna mobile devices. Alright. Okay. Yang ni to introduce the basic design of web app application, yeah. Web application architecture. So this is actually based on client server architecture. So it's not the same like your mobile app design. Like the thing that I have introduced, you have tried out kan about the mobile app. It's very different. Yeah, it is very different. Although it's actually same. They use network. But they have different design, and it depends on the story, right? So this is considered under two-tier architecture pattern. If you can see, yeah, the pattern here. So for two-tier, it's like layer, but the difference is two-tier will talk about software and hardware. The tier. If we are talking about tier will talk about the software and hardware. But if you're using layer, usually we're talking about the inner of the app only. So hopefully you can understand that. Yeah. So it's not that layer is tier is layer. You just replace that. No, it's different architecture pattern. Okay, for this two-tier architecture pattern, if you can see these two object here, the browser and the web server, if you put a column here, yeah, you can say that it has two columns, right? So that's why we call it as two-tier. As simple as that. Okay. So in these two tier, they are actually representing something. Each tier has different thing. Okay. So let's go to the first tier first. This is the browser. This is the web server. So you need to know the story about this architecture, then only you can understand what it is. Yeah. But of course, like I said, I remind you, please start learning how to develop your website. Yeah, using HTML first. That's your homework. Okay. You have to understand the story. Number one, what happened is, okay, browser is, this is you. This is you using the computer. Maybe looking for some website, yeah, try to access some website. Okay, you open a browser, then you put in a URL address. True? Okay, so that URL, it's a uniform resource locator, meaning that it will link you to some resources that has been kept inside the server. Okay, so that link will help you to contact the server. Okay, so by putting in the URL and then the user press something, right? Enter or some button. Okay, so then the browser will start trigger the search, meaning that they send the browser is sending the request to the server. How to know where to get to? They have the URL, right? So using the URL, they send the request to the server. So from the URL, we know that what are the things that has been requested by the user. Is it just a plain HTML code? Yeah. Or is it they are looking for searching for something? But because we're talking about basic architecture, so it's about just a plain HTML. We just want to find a website, we put in the URL, something will be displayed. Yeah. Okay, but before that being displayed, the request has been sent to the server. The server will respond Yeah, so no processing much is needed because you're just asking for the plain HTML. So they will get the HTML files, are there any images, they will put in together and they send back to the browser. So the job for the browser now is to display all that information to you. Okay, so you know that they send in form of HTML codes with all the files. So the browser only take that HTML and they can actually transform that into something good, something that you can see on the screen. Okay, so that's how it works. All right. So and you have to know that because there are two tier there, browser and server, they are actually using two different sets of program. Yeah, we when we develop website, we have to develop the HTML code, and then because this is the basic one, you don't have to do much. Just the basic HTML code can help you can help the server to communicate with the browser. Okay, it's like an interface, yeah, between browser and server. They talk through HTML language. Yeah. Okay, but if it's about something more than that, if it's not a plain HTML, then the server side has to do some processing. So browser understand HTML. When it send requests or get some response, browser needs that HTML. Yeah, but web server can have more than that. They can use other kind of languages, and HTML is not actually their language. Yeah, they actually has their own languages. If you have heard about PHP, so PHP is normally the language that is being used in server, but there are also other languages like Java, like Python. Yeah, okay. So that kind of languages are being used to process the requests because they understand the language, and then they transform back into HTML, and then that HTML will be sent to the browser. Okay, so that's how it works. So browser doesn't actually produce the HTML. They just help with the displaying and sending and getting back the HTML codes. Um, the things that you produce is actually kept inside server, not inside the client devices. Alright? Okay. Tapi once you get access to that website, usually client devices will keep them, yeah, under cache memory or something. Yeah. So that's how it works. But if you're using something more than just basic, then there will be more. The story will be longer. All right. This is the basic stories. Okay. So now we are going to discuss more about something that's not just basic. Web app is, you can say that it has lots of potential. It can be anything that you like, yeah, as long as you have that server and your clients have their client devices. All right, framework for web app. Web app itself is actually something that can ties up relation, can interact with many things, yeah. Tapi dia of course lah limited lah. It's not like mobile phone lagi banyak boleh interact, right? So for this web app, they can interact with user interface, of course, you know, the middleware system, databases, yeah, server, browser. Lagi there are many components of applications in form of usually is software lah. Yeah, in form of software. Other system, external system. So they can talk, they can get information from other people as well. So we have to make use of that to become the benefit of using web application kan. Whereas mobile app, of course lah, they can get access to devices kan. Macam gadget-gadget pun boleh. So itulah beza dia. Yeah. So web application ni, if you decide to produce a web app, yeah, janganlah produce just a plain basic website kan. So you have to get more functionalities to be inside your website, barulah nampak menarik. Ya, barulah ramai orang nak access your website kan. So another thing is for a web developer to make sure that your website perform really well, they have to actually decide on the client side technique and also the server side technique. Okay, there are different technique that you can use, to make the website to perform well or better. But it's not a must. It's actually kind of different design that you can actually combine, or you can put them together, or you want to focus only on the client side, or you want to have more processing, so you can focus on the server side, or you can have both together also can. So it depends on the story, yeah, that will create the design. Okay, so meaning that you have lots of options that you can pick on when you're doing the design. But of course you have to know the pro and cons. Sometimes that you cannot pick it together because it's the same thing, it's an alternative, so you cannot do both. So you have to know what they are and why, what are the purpose for using it, so then only you can make the decision. All right, so on the right hand side there, I just listed some of the element that is for not being just basic, you want to put extra a bit. So we have web browser, of course, yeah, the client. We have web server, and the extra is database. Itu je. But of course, you have learned, I think, from web programming, yeah, how to actually create this web app, yeah, actually use the database to display inside your website. Okay, if you have, then that is something good, because that is the a little bit advanced from just basic. Okay, but we can make it more advanced. All right, so now we are into the common design that we can found. Yeah, yang tadi tu is just introduction to the architecture, so we go for the client server, but the design will depend on how you actually design the architecture. Okay, so this is one of the options. Of course, we start with the static one. So static is actually the basic one. Okay, so we can't say that, oh, your website is just using static design, it's not interesting. But that is true, that is actually true. Because if you just use static web page, yeah, you create HTML, you load back, you get access to that website, it's just display the same thing. Whenever you access it again tomorrow or the day after, it still display the same thing because it's static. Yeah, static. You have coded, you have hard coded the HTML code to be just like that. It won't change until you change it yourself. Yeah. So you put the files at the server, and then you get access to that HTML codes. The browser will display the same thing because that's what is actually inside the code, right? Okay, so this is what we call static. It's the same thing displayed every time. So you can have different pages, 10 pages in the web page, web pages. So, but they are all about information. The same thing, the images is still displayed like that. So not much interesting, yeah. So not many people will go back to your website unless it's very informational and people want to know the same story, they want to read again and again, then maybe they will access to your page. Yeah. All right. So this is simple lah, basic tadi kan. Now we go to, okay, yeah. Kat sini, if you can see the diagram here, up here, the two diagram, yeah. Ada difference ke? Are they actually talking about the same thing, or are they actually about different design? Atas dengan bawah ni, are they actually the same thing? This is under static web page. That's why I put it inside one slide. Tapi why there are two different diagrams there? Is it the same or is it not the same? Sama tak sama? It looks different. It looks different, but did it actually tell the same story? Sama story or beza story? Sama story. Okay, actually this is static. Sama, yes, true. Slightly different, but actually they are talking about the same design. Okay, so as you can see here, it's static. No database involved. Masa static, tak ada database involved. So what you see here is not database. This is just the files, the collection of files that been kept inside the web server. So kind of files, maybe you can have like HTML, yeah, the file HTML of course lah. How can you access the website kalau tak ada HTML kan? So HTML files like index.html, etc.html. So they're all being kept inside the web server. And also if you have images, then they will be kept inside the web server as well. So they are called files, not database. That is not database. Okay. So this file is actually inside the web server. So if you see this, there is actually file inside the web server. It's not empty. So there is something inside. So files that being kept inside the web server is actually inside there. You need to have the index.html. Kan? Otherwise you cannot have this static web pages. Yeah. Okay. So this is something mentioned about the client side and the server side. I mentioned just now. Okay. If you are doing the client side technique, meaning that people can see every people that access to your internet, to your web pages or website, they will see your code. Clearly, they will see the codes. Yeah. So if you have the client side like the HTML itself, yeah. So people will get to see how the HTML displayed the text, where to get the images, yeah, the address of the images, but it's not full address, but people know that is the name of the images. So people can see that from the source code. So do you know how can you actually see the source code from the website that you have access from the browser? Do you have any idea how can you see the source code, the HTML codes? Because you can. You pun user juga kan. Whenever you access a website, you are the user. Yes, you can use the inspect element, or you can find the developer tools. Yeah, then you can go for page source or source code. Yeah, so page source. Yeah, so different browser has different ways, so you can find it, and you can look at the source code. Okay, so that source code is actually the codes that have been written from the server to the browser. So that it is. Yeah. So anything that you put inside there, yeah, if it's not basic, then you might be using some widgets. You put in something related to the interface, something for the display. You will see that. Yeah, you will see that through that source code. Okay. And there's another thing, server side technique, where people focusing on how to improve the performance by maybe they do something on the design. Yeah, we will actually discuss a bit about this later. But this all will not be seen by your user. Yeah, or anyone who access the website, they don't know anything happened. What they know is the result has been given, displayed by the HTML. That's it. For example, if you send a query, like maybe an online calculator, you put in 2 plus 2, so you send it to the server, for example lah kan. So the server will send back 4, for example, display well displayed inside the screen. But the thing that you know is how actually they calculate that 2 plus 2. Simple example, kalau you know kan. But ini example je. So in the server, they do that processing. They didn't tell you how they do the processing, and then they send back the result to you. You only see the result. Yeah. So how they do the processing, there are lots of ways how they can improve that. If 2 plus 2 is very basic, very simple example, but there are lots of different things. Like if have you ever think about Lazada ke Shopee ke kan, how do they actually operate with all those lots of functions going on inside that app kan, ataupun dalam website dia orang buat dengan. So macam mana they handle that lots of things happening at the same time. So it depends on the server scripting technique, yeah, and also other designs lah inside the server. Okay, back end. Sorry, bukan dalam inside server, but in the back end of the system. Yeah. Okay, dynamic web page. Kita ada static, so kita kena ada dynamic juga, right? So dynamic is more interesting. Bukan more lah. Memang you kena, kalau you buat website, it has to be dynamic. Janganlah buat static. Kalau you nak buat static, can for 1 or 2 pages, but combine them, yeah, with something that has functionalities, yeah, together, so that your website will not be that boring kan. Okay, so dynamic web pages ni, for example here I have a simple example. This is actually coming from your seniors FYP, one of my student last semester. So this is actually quite basic, not basic like static, but kita kata basic jugalah, because it only have one database, and then dia ada web browser, guna web browser untuk access, and the girls set up this web server to keep the file, HTML images, etc. So we can imagine this like a simple web app lah. Yeah, it's dynamic but a simple one. Yeah. Okay. It's actually related to mental illnesses test. So she provide lots of different tests inside the website. And it's dynamic because whenever the user try any of the tests or take any of the tests, the results will be based on the individuals. Okay, so it will be different from every people. Whenever they take the test, the result will be different from one another. So that's what we call dynamic. Meaning that every time you open up the website, you put in some information there, you use the test function, and then it will return back the result. The result will not be the same with other people. And even if you have put in other inputs, different input from previous one, so it will also display different result for you. So that's what we call dynamic. Okay, so the simplest way is by using that database. So when it process something, the server will process something from the database, it will return that in form of HTML. It's already coded, yeah, to be displayed well on your screen. So that's what the browser receive, and they just help by displaying it on the screen, something that you want to see. Okay, they don't actually just display the code kan. Okay, so that's what dynamic is. Dynamic can be more complex, like the example below here, yeah, where this is about CMS, yeah, content management system. So this is kind of dynamic. The nearest example is your My Guru. Yeah, My Guru is actually CMS. So they have lots of, maybe they just use one database, or maybe they have more than one, but they also have other functions that not relying on that database only. There are things that they have to get from other system. For example, if you realize that we have the learning evaluation as well, right? So that will be another different system, yeah, that being connected under the CMS. So it's not related. It's not everything is put under one server. Yeah. So these are the things happening at the back that you never know. What you know is, alamak, kenapa susah, lambat lah, tak boleh access lah kan. So it's actually depend on the design, and it depends on the different server. In the case of My Guru, I think they use different server. I'm not sure what kind of architecture design they use, but it's CMS, so it's a huge one. It's very huge. Same goes like your IMS, yeah. So your IMS is a very huge system. Okay, it's not easy, and it involves lots of different servers. Yeah, so whenever they have to list a different server, they have to make some what we call that, transit period, right? So it will take time, yeah, and sometimes it actually affect the performance. So that's other thing that you have to bear with. Hopefully they can find a good design or good implementation, yeah, for IMS, yeah. But for time being, that is how it works. So they're still working on it, and some people also, something I learned from the UC UC confession kan. People keep on, why they have to pay lots of money? Do you think the fees, the cost for this is small? Do you? It's very huge, yeah. And even for, if we just take on from the fees, from the student fees, it's actually not enough, yeah. So we have actually kind of apa, income taking not only from the student fees. We have also, OPSI have also other income, yeah, coming from other things. So we're not depending 100% on the student fees, but it's still not enough. So if you are talking about why the student fees cannot be, you know, discount, you want more discount, it because of this cost. Yeah, it's because of this cost. It's something that you have to understand. So for AC10 student, you have to understand. This is the things happen. So this is just about the system. We have lots of different system working, functioning in UPSI. It's not just IMS, not just about my guru. So there are lots of costs there. Yeah, there are lots and lots of costs there. So you need to understand about that. Okay. Itu je lah, kan related to you, kan, to your life. Okay, kita pergi kepada, this is the story inside that, so it's kind of, the new description pun dah a bit panjang, so maybe carry it on. So but the thing that you can actually, yang penting kat sini lah, kan, sini lah. Okay, kita ada JavaScript, images, all this if you are using static, yeah. Kalau you pakai dynamic, then you can use something like Node.js, yeah, and then you can put in like widgets, kan, ataupun you can have React.js. We go to that, to this. Okay. So this is among the current one that has been used by many websites. Okay, so you have, but today you have to be aware about this kind of design, and you may actually use this kind of design. And when you are actually, if you choose to do the web app for your FYP, these are the kind of things that you can implement inside your website to make it more dynamic, more interesting. Yeah. So one of it is single page application. So this single page application is not about one page website. No, it's not one single page website. No, you still can have many pages for your website, but it's actually the name single page application is referring to the technique or the design of this page, yeah, one of the page. So let's say there's one page that is using SPA. I call it SPA, single page application. So let's say, okay, kita go to the traditional way first, yeah. For a static one or for a simple dynamic, normal one, kan, they are using just a simple ordinary. Bila you reload, yeah, once you access the website, once you reload or refresh the page, kan, it will refresh the whole page. True. Yeah. And sometimes, bukan sometimes, you always can see that it's actually, the browser is actually refreshing the website. You can see it. Okay, you can see it, kan, kita sedar, we know that it's happening. But when it comes to SPA, yeah, SPA, this is not about when you click on the refreshing button, yeah, it's not about that. It is when you open a website, you keep it on, you keep it open, yeah, for some time. Whenever there is update on any of the element, yeah, this SPA design website actually will update your screen, your display with the new data. Okay, without you realizing it. Macam mana tak realize, macam mana tak perasan pula dia dah update, kan. It's actually called SPA. And for example here, if you have, let's say, ini satu page, I call it current page, so this is one current page. This is, let's say, ni satu block ni is another one current page, and this is also another page. So ada berapa current page? There are 3. Sebenarnya dia ada 3 different pages in one page. You see one page, but it's actually element. Kita kata different element. They are from different pages, yeah. And whenever there is update for this page, yeah, when this one mean current, yeah, so kita akan terima the latest update right away. Okay, the server will send it and the browser will display it, and you won't actually realize it happening because the rest of the thing is still the same. It's still the same. It won't change anything. You didn't realize it's changed. Yeah. So why? Because only that part is being updated. So that's the special of the SPA design. Okay, let's take the times example. Okay, so khabar Okay, this one might be one block, yeah, one page, one set. This one might come from one set. This one might come from one set, one pages. This one also one. This one also one. Okay, but not every single thing is using SPA. Maybe only this part is using SPA. And this part maybe, yeah. So kalau short khabar normally for the headline ni kan, for the first one yang ni, the main headline ni biasanya tak bertukar for one day. True. Biasanya if you see that newspaper, it will have the same, the huge one, it will be the same for the rest of the day. Usually yang change is only the small stories up here. If there is something recently, very recently happened just now, they got the news, they just update, right? So sometimes, most of the time, they just update inside the database and it poof, it's, you can see it on the display. Although you have put them, you open up in your browser, and you still apa kata, still macam biarkan saja kan. So whenever any updates, it will be updated from time to time. Yeah, whenever ada updates, they just send it. Yeah, so that's how we can see it. By, you don't have to refresh them. Whenever you refresh the page, then yes, it will take the whole lot and start displaying the whole page again. But of course, because your device has cache memory, so usually they keep the memory inside there kan. So they just stick back. They don't have to go to the server yet. Yeah, you don't think so. But if there is no, they cannot find it inside the cache, then they'll go and fetch it from the server. Okay, so that's the story for SPA. The example, ada example, ni yang paling selalu you pakai mungkin Facebook, Google Map, Gmail, Google Drive, GitHub, Google Doc, semualah. So nampak macam tak berubah kan. Tiba-tiba dia kata the save inside the disk. It's actually something happening tanpa kita sedar. It doesn't actually refresh the whole lot kan. Okay. Okay, so basically when you draw the design in ADV1, if you say you're using SPA, we actually cannot see that design inside the ADV1. Why? Because the single page is actually about the inside stories, so we cannot see inside the ADV1. Okay, and for this example here, if you can see, this is not the same story like the time and everything, because this one is using web service. It's not the same. The time just now, maybe they have their own database, so they're not using web services. So the story will depend on the design will depend on your story. So this is called SPA, but this is SPA when the page is taking data from web services. So the architecture will look like this. But what if you only use server? It will be different. Yeah, it will be different. For the times, maybe they use that, but maybe they can combine everything. They can use, there are some part that using web service, there are some part they use widgets, they have some part where they use their own database. So, the design is not like this always. It will depend on your story. Yeah. Okay, so down here, if you're not sure what is, from my explanation, you didn't get it, you can actually watch this video, SPA application using React.js example. This is not the title of the video, but this is the thing that I write for you. Things that you can go and watch. Yeah, it's actually showing how this man actually make use of this React.js for this SPA. for his website. So it's just showing what he has, but it's actually a good exposure for you. Yeah, if you don't understand what it is, maybe you can get some idea from there. Okay, this is not a tutorial. It's not a tutorial video. It's actually showing some of what he has. Yeah, so hopefully you can do that for your homework. Okay, that's another thing other than SPA. It's not other than SPA. Actually, when you're using SPA, one of the thing that you can include is widgets in that single page. Yeah, one of the things that element that you can pick to be under one of the current page in the SPA is widgets. Yeah, so we have like I said now, we have maybe from the SPA one block to take information from database, one this block will go to take another database, and then this one will take something from the widgets. So it depends. Yeah, what do you want to include inside this one pages? Yeah, sorry, one page. So widgets is actually widget ni macam widget inside your phone. Tahu kan widget inside your phone, nak display the alarm ke, nak display apa clock ke kan. So these are the things that you can put inside your website to make it look more dynamic. It's not that true dynamic, but it looks like dynamic website kan, because we don't say dynamic lah juga kan, cuma it's not things that you created, because widget ni macam wizard je, you put in that block dalam widget ni, and then you can use that for your website, or people can see something there, weather forecast ke kan, something like that. Okay, so widgets is actually using Ajax. So Ajax is JavaScript. Ajax ni sebenarnya syntax lah, based on JavaScript. It's actually a framework. We can call it a framework for widget. So people use, whenever they want to use widget, they need to include the Ajax. And normally people know that the website is using widgets because you can see it from the source code. Yeah, because it's related to the client side. Yeah, okay. So you can read on. I believe you understand what it is. So widget is usually using the web services because it's already been developed for you. It's just that the method of you put it in, yeah, embed inside your website. That's it. Okay. Tak ada isu nak kena code teruk-teruk, tak ada. Okay. In terms of interface, beza dia. Interface dia cantik lah. Ya. Widget ni biasa memang macam phone widget lah kan. Dia punya interface dah ready dah. It's just the method of embed that je. Okay, ni contoh. Ya, contoh. So, this is not totally widgets, ya. Tapi we can say that it might use SPA, okay. Dan dia ada juga widget, okay. So the first thing yang dia ada, kalau tengok sini ya, submit reload all boxes from the form with a single call. So ini maybe dia guna one single HTML biasa lah, where it's a static. Dan satu page tu part ni memang hard coded dalam HTML. So that's what we see. Sebab dia panggil satu call je, dia keluar kan. Every one call, one display. Okay. Untuk yang ni, dia kata dynamically loaded. So this is the dynamic part. And this is also the dynamic part. Okay. This is dynamic. Okay. For this one, this is widget. Sebab dia kata content of Ajax call. So whenever you use Ajax means it's widget. So rupa dia memang dah set macam ni. Dia dah rupa macam ni. So when you embed the Ajax ni, dia keluar terus macam ni lah. You don't have to think about how it will be displayed. Ya. Tak perlu fikir lah yang tentang macam mana font apa semua tu, tak payah fikir. Dia dah boleh keluar macam tu. Mungkin dia ada specific template untuk change a bit ke. Mungkin. Tapi it's not that you have to code that. You just boleh pilih option kalau ada je tu je kan. And for this one, this is also dynamic. Mungkin guna SPA, ya. Most probably guna SPA lah. So this one mungkin data ni datang daripada database. Ya. Mungkin datang daripada web API. Okay, kalau datang daripada web API or from the database, then the display you have to code lah. You have to create the display code for display, HTML code, ya. So it's a bit more work lah compared to widget. Widget dah ready display dah. Faham eh? Okay. Okay. So I have a good video for you to watch, but you have to watch on your own lah because it's a 2-hour video. But of course you don't have to watch straight 2 hours straight kan, you can have a rest in between. um, this is actually talking about API. It's a very good explanatory video. It has that person explained a lot about interface. So from the interface, he actually go on and talk about API and show some example and put in some tutorials. So it's a very good video. It's not a boring video. It's a very good one. Yeah, I like it. So I share with you. Hopefully you can watch that. And from this video, actually, I get this information. Yeah, if you already familiar with Spotify, yeah, music, yeah. So in the Spotify website, yeah, if you go right at the bottom of the website, yeah, the main page, you will see one link to developer site, yeah, for Spotify. Okay, so this is the page for the developer, yeah, Spotify developer. So what you can find here is it actually provide Spotify functions, yeah, that is in form of web API, yeah, or you can have widgets that you can put inside your website straight away, or you can also have API for iOS or for Android as well. Okay, so this is a good exposure for you to know that there are widgets, there are APIs that you can use. Widgets and API are different. Your widget is something that, you know, the display is already completed, so it's just a matter of embed that inside your code. But API means they will send back the data, and it's up to you how do you want to display the information. Okay, so um if you still remember the Amazon web service, yeah, that use the web API, so we have some data. So whenever we get the data, the most highest price, most lowest price, right? So when you get the data, you have to actually code the HTML template of how you want it to be displayed, because you only receive the data. So kena ada extra kerja lah situ. You kena create the display codes kan. So macam mana nak buat, yang ni ada contoh dia. Macam mana nak codekan that display, macam mana kita boleh change that display kan. Ni public API in JSON ni. So you can take a look how the people doing it. Yeah. So it's a good exposure for you. So I know there are lots of videos, sometimes because it's massive, jadi sometimes you don't know which one to pick, and some of them are not really useful. Some of them also very boring, but these are something that you can start with. Maybe from there you can start picking or selecting a good video for your own learning. Yeah. Okay. So now ni current. Okay. Yang ni common. Current juga, common ya. So this is current. We have SPA. We have also things that we call microservices. Okay, so microservices not something that you can do for your FYP. It's too huge. It's too huge, yeah. So usually, kalau macam IMS, suitable if they want to use these microservices, where they can actually divide all the small department, yeah. Macam dalam function you, all the department, because they are big department, they handle lots of data, yeah. So it's better if there is one team that can handle that data, and they can have their own database, their own team, their own way of doing it. Maybe they can use their own languages. But they all, when combined, they are become one big system. Yeah. So that what we call microservices is each of the department that's happening, yeah, in those functions, yeah, that provide different functions kan. So related function will be put under one department. So it can use the same microservice, or maybe it's actually being split into more smaller than the service, it become micro, yeah. Jadi kita boleh kecil-kecil lagi, pecah kecil, and then kita assign for which team that can do that. So FYP cannot do this lah. Yeah. And we don't expect you to create something big like IMS kan. Ya, kita tak suruh you create my guru, no kan, itu besar tu. Alright, so for your project usually it's monolithic. So monolithic ni sorry, nampak macam ni je lah. Usually macam contoh yang lively tadi kan, yang for mental illnesses tu kan, ada satu database and then everything is under one server. So it's very simple one, tapi macam you boleh buat monolithic, but make sure you can embed something inside as well, or put in some more, orang kata design dia lebih canggih sikit, jangan macam buat web programmingnya project je kan, buat more than that because there are lots of technology out there. Okay, so this is an example for microservices, macam ni kan, Lazada ke Shopee ke, itu is very good example as well. Kita pecahkan masing-masing punya bahagian, masing-masing punya bahagian, different team, or maybe you can also outsource, for other people to actually handle one of the microservices also can, so this is when we talk about something huge, for companies, for the commercial punya companies kan, it's something not, orang kata you cannot, not for your FYP lah, not for FYP. Okay, but whenever you are out there for your industrial training ke or to work, then you might receive project like this. So you need to know that all these things exist, it's not just about like database bagi tu macam tu je kan, crude, read, update tu je, boringnya kan. Okay, so there are many things happening outside. Lepas tu kita ada serverless. Kita panggil perkataan term serverless. Serverless is not server, tak ada server langsung. Serverless means you as the developer, you don't handle the server. You ask other people to handle the server. Okay, you can have different server for security, for password ke apa. We can have different database for other functions kan. So this database, kalau kata ada tiga database. So we can have different company to handle your server. Kalau ada tiga, you can have tiga company to handle each of the server. So mana dia memudahkan kerja sebagai developer. Kalau you handle this project, maknanya yang hanky-panky, bila you kena handle server kan, nak make sure it's all up every time, tak ada data hilang, lepas tu nak update pun data mesti okay. Banyak pula kerja, tapi you at the same time you kena make sure business dia punya processing also okay, and then you kena make sure that dia punya display depan pun mesti okay, pun tu mesti canggih. Banyak kerja kan. So if we can assign some other people to do the back end part, then senang lah kan, relax sikit. So that's why we call serverless, because we give to other people to handle for us. So tapi yang ni cost dia sangat tinggi, and we're not talking about FYP. This is also about something huge. It's not for FYP, but you need to know about this. This is something that being practiced in many companies. So serverless is actually fall under computing, cloud computing services. Alright, so dalam cloud computing pun dia ada cerita yang sedikit beza. Ada yang guna untuk server sahaja, ada yang guna untuk function lain. So it depends on the story, apa benda service yang you nak pakai, and apa yang boleh kita hire to other people, apa yang kita boleh buat sendiri. So the design will depend on the story lah. Tak ada you kata spesifik mesti guna yang ni. Tak. Kalau kata you guna serverless, mesti pakai ni. Tak, you mungkin boleh combine dengan apa yang ada. Part ni saja bagi dekat orang lain, part ni nak buat sendiri, also can. So the design will depend on the story. Okay, so right here kat sini contoh macam mana kalau macam mana kita nak handle that database kan. Kita tak handle that database and that server, macam mana kita nak dapat maklumat. Kat sini contoh dia bagi, kita boleh pakai Lambda. Lambda ni bukan simbol Lambda tu, it's actually a protocol, a framework. Dalam framework ada framework, dalam design ada design lagi. Okay, dalam design yang ni, Lambda ni is actually coming from Amazon Web Service. So if you're using cloud computing service from AWS, you will have to put in Lambda. You have to have Lambda as the interface between you and those that you inside the AWS. Dia jadi orang tengah lah. Okay, Lambda jadi orang tengah. Bukan orang betul jadi admin. macam untuk communicate lah. Okay, so lambda architecture they help with how you can get information, how you can request information, because orang lain handle kan, so it needs a way of communication, macam mana kita boleh communicate to get information etc. So dalam kes ni kita guna lambda. Okay, banyak cara lain tapi ni contoh je lah. Okay, so basically in general, ni kalau under cloud computing, other than microservice, other than serverless kan, there are many other services. So it depends on the cloud providers what kind of services that they can give you. So sekarang ni yang paling popular kat Malaysia ni AWS ya. Sekarang senior you tengah training ya. Siapa yang nak pergi LI kot ke yang baru habis FYP rasanya, ada a few students dapat masuk training free. The cost for the training for 2 days is actually around 5,000 kalau tak silap seorang ya. And then we have Azura ya, I call it Azura under Microsoft. So these are the kind of cloud providers, and if you go for that training they will actually teach you how you can actually use that kind of cloud service. But of course if you want to use the service you have to pay kan. So bila ada training macam ni, it's a good thing if you can to get some exposure about what things that you can do with them. So whenever you're involved or with that kind of project later, masa you kerja, then you have some ideas about how it can be done, apa story di sebaliknya. Alright, so besar story yang ni. Tapi in terms for you nak pakai Google pun boleh. Kan ada free juga. Macam guna Amazon contoh dalam sebelum ni practice kita ada guna Amazon juga untuk API. So that is just a small thing. Yang small ni free je kan. Yang ni kita cerita yang about the huge thing. Yang small tu you can actually use for your FYP, tak ada masalah.